from the dusty red soil plains. I am the ancient heart, the keeper of the flame. I stood upon that rocky shore, I watched the tall ships come. For 40,000 years I've been the first Australian.
I came upon a prison ship, bound down by iron chains. I cleared the land, endured the lash, and waited for the rains. I'm a settler, I'm a farmer's wife, on the dry and barren land. I'm a convict, I'm a free man, I became Australian.
I'm the daughter of a digger who sought the mother lode. The girl became a woman on a long and dusty road. I'm the child of the depression who saw the good times come. I'm a bushy, I'm a butler, I am Australian. We are one, but we are many, and from all the lands on earth we come. We share a dream and sing with one voice. I am, you are, we are Australian.
I'm the teller of story. I'm the singer of song. I am Albert and Magilla. And I paint the ghostly gone. I am Clancy on his horse. I'm Ned Kelly on the run. I'm the one who wants Matilda. I am Australian.
I'm the hot wind in the desert, I'm the black song of the waves, I'm the mountains and the valleys, the trodden valley rays. I am the rock, I am the sky, the rivers when they run, spirit of this great land, yeah, I am Australia.
We are one, but we are many, and from all the lands on earth we come. We share a dream and sing with one voice. I am, you are, we are Australia. We are one, but we are many, and from all the lands on earth we come. We share a dream and sing with one voice. I am, you are, we are Australian. I am, you are, we are
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the National's 1998 Ethnic Business Awards. Please make welcome your host for tonight, Beverly O'Connor.
Thank you so much, and please let's put our hands together for a magnificent opening. I know you'll agree. Adoration on the gospel train, and these marvellous children representing countries from around the globe. And good evening to you. I'm Beverly O'Connor, and welcome to the National's 11th Annual Ethnic Business Awards. As you can see, we've brought the Ethnic Business Awards home to the National's head office, where we're joined by a select audience to celebrate the achievements of a group of people who've made their mark in business in Australia. I'm sure that you're going to be fascinated by the stories our finalists have to tell. But it's not just about being successful business people. All have integrated into Australia's way of life. And as a result, Australia's economy has benefited from their skills base. I'd like to particularly welcome our special guests here this evening, Alistair Lindsay from Singapore Airlines, who've been great supporters of the awards and are also the sponsors of the two major prizes this evening. Kendall Knight and Marita Foote from Ansett Airlines, which have generously provided all the domestic travel that was necessary to bring our guests and our judges here this evening. And, of course, our judges, Eve Cristani and King Fong, Sir Nicholas Shahady. And for the first time, we're going to spend a little time talking to Sir Nicholas about the criteria for the judging. We also have a number of Consul Generals who've generously joined us this evening. Now, this year we've changed the categories of the awards in keeping with the evolution of business. There are two categories. One is for turnover less than $5 million, and the second category is turnover of more than $5 million. And during the evening we'll meet all the finalists, and then a little later on this evening we'll announce the winners in the two categories. Now, the National has maintained a strong commitment to recognising the contribution of migrants in Australia, something spearheaded by the Managing Director and CEO of the National, Don Argus. I'm sure you'd agree that he's probably the country's best-known business leader, and he's played a pivotal role in making the National a truly world-class financial services group. Please welcome to the stage the National's Don Argus. Come into the hot seat.
Hot seat? You always put you in those hot seats.
I know you don't like the hot seats. You've been making a bit of news lately, but I'm going to give you a very simple first question. The globe has been in economic turmoil. What's going to happen in 1999?
It's always simple questions from you, Bev. Well, I guess if you have a look at the Asian region, I think that's going to have a big influence on, I suppose, the outcome of where we all head. I think probably Eastern Europe has a bit of an impact too, but Japan certainly holds the key. I was at a function the other evening where they had some very prominent business people from the Asian region, and we've got to be careful that we start to specify where they come from. But there's parts of the region that will recover quicker than others, and I think that'll be very positive from those of us that have a big export line up there, but there'll still be an overhang of those that have got a lot more work to do. So I think you'll have, in short, you'll have a bit of an overhang of those that haven't made it yet. And I think we haven't seen the impact of perhaps what's happening in Eastern Europe yet. So that's an impact yet.
So far, though, Australia seems to have not really felt the brunt of the rest of the world. We seem to have withstood it a little. Do you think we're going to be able to do that again next year?
I think we can. See, I suppose I'm starting to date myself and sort of show my age, but you go back a little bit and you can see where before the Asian region was the flavour for exporters, we had a big export market into the Northern Hemisphere and into the European regions. The companies that are exporting into those regions haven't lost those markets, and they've certainly extended into the Asian region, and we're certainly doing some good things in both regions. And I think Australian business people generally are pretty flexible, and they're able to change their strategies quickly, and I think we've had some good fundamental economic settings here in this country, and that's a plus for us, and we've been able to get through. So I'm not pessimistic. I'm not sort of jumping up with a lot of joy, but I think it's going to be hard work, but I think we can get through it.
Now, I mentioned this is the 11th year of the Ethnic Business Awards, and you you did spearhead this. What made you feel that so many of our migrants who were doing great work out of there needed to be recognised?
Well, I can go back to the first meeting, and Joseph was there, and a lot of us at that stage were still in the field and dealing with a lot of the ethnic business people. And we could see there was some marvellous innovation starting to come out of it. And in those days, I'd have to say to you that there were some Australian businesses that were looking for handouts rather than getting on and doing the real hard yards. And we felt that we needed to recognise and to set some sort of an example for those that really were putting in the hard work and were starting to get the results. And we started off in a small way, and it's grown. And I'd have to say to you that having been involved with all 11 now, some of the success stories and some of the vibrance of the winners and even those that have come second, has been a great night. And I just hope that the tradition prevails and that you see the same sort of frivolity and fun that this night has generated over the years.
I have no doubt we'll have lots of fun as the evening continues. Please thank the Managing Director, Don Argus. And now to our first finalist in the category $5 million and under. Tetsuya Wakuda is one of Australia's most celebrated chefs. He arrived in Sydney from Japan in 1982. After working in partnership, opened his own restaurant. Tetsuya sold his house and leased the equipment to establish the restaurant at a time when interest rates were at the all-time high of 23%. And aren't we glad we aren't in those days any longer? Well, the gamble paid off. Tetsuya's restaurant was voted best restaurant in the Sydney Morning Herald's Good Food Guide, and that was for 2 years in a row. And to cap off a wonderful year, he was invited to showcase Australian cuisine at the prestigious James Baird Foundation in New York.
There's nothing pretentious about Darling Street in the Sydney suburb of Rozelle, and it's hardly the place you would expect to find one of the best restaurants in the country.
Good afternoon, Tetsuya's. Can I help you? Tuesday the 12th? For 4, yes, we have tables available.
In the early days, Tetsuya's restaurant was booked out 12 months in advance. That all became a bit too unwieldy, so now bookings can only be made 6 weeks in advance. The food is described as French-Japanese with Chinese influences, but Tetsuya prefers not to give it a label.
Very best ingredients, simply, perfectly, try to be perfectly cooked, and that's all.
Tetsuya arrived in Australia at age 22 with absolutely no cooking experience. He started at the bottom.
I wash the dishes. I'm good at it too.
Good at washing dishes. All about peeling potatoes.
Yes, very.
You had to do all that to start with?
Yes, I did.
Tetsuya says he was lucky to learn from some great chefs.
For me, it was just like a dream thing, and I just enjoyed every second.
Although Tetsuya Wakuda is now hailed by many as Australia's best chef, he prefers to be described simply as a cook. And even Sydney's taxi drivers no longer have trouble with his name. He's registered with them as Mr. Cook.
That's how I'm Mr. Cook. All taxi drivers not a cook. I use a lot.
Mr. Cook.
That's why I'm called Mr. Cook.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please make welcome Tetsuya Wakuda. Congratulations. I think my husband would probably benefit from a few lessons. If you couldn't cook, Tetsuya, there's hope for him. Now, our next finalist migrated from Italy in 1961 and commenced tomato growing in 1964 in the Murchison area. Almost 25 years on, Giuseppe Vracca is the owner of a diverse agricultural business which spans tomatoes, capsicums, stone fruits, beef and dairy cattle. Giuseppe, or Joe as he likes to be called, attributes his success to being able to adapt quickly to new ideas and keep pace with technology. Others will tell you that it's simply his very strong work ethic which counts the most. Joe is an inspiration to fellow migrants and other Australians with the vision and resolve he has fostered within the family-run business.
This is where it all began for Joe Vracca. This old packing shed is a constant reminder of those tough early days.
I remember every day we spent in this back in the Sharia. And every time I pass a tree, I was turning around and looking. And I said this to my kids too. That's where we started.
Joe Vraka is now the proud owner of more than 900 hectares of farmland in northern Victoria and is the biggest tomato grower in the state. He also has a dairy and a large stone fruit orchard. However, he still recalls that day he stepped off the boat from Italy, aged 17.
Well, when we arrived here in Australia, my brother were 2 pounder in. When we got the Fremantle on the ship, my brother ran out of money and they had another 2 pounder left. But the one we arrived in Melbourne, we had nothing left.
Joe first worked in the Melbourne abattoirs and picked tomatoes around Murchison in his holidays. He met Mary, and when they married 2 years later, they began leasing 25 acres to grow tomatoes.
Well, tomato seeds is something you've got to make happen every year. You've got to start from the scratch every year, and you've got to make happen.
Making sure you're always ahead of everybody else, knowing what you're doing, and having faith in what you're doing no matter what anybody else says.
One day, Joe plans to hand the business on to his son and nephew, but not for a while yet.
When you stop or slow down, you become nothing. You're nobody. You know, you've got to keep it going.
Welcome to the stage, Joe Vraka, our second finalist. Looking every bit as gorgeous as when he stepped off that boat. Now, in December 1982, Bert Reich and his new wife Margriet arrived in Australia from Holland. Bert with a background in civil engineering and Margriet an experienced secretary. They were hardly the qualifications for specialising in the growing of gerberas. Following 2 years' experience working at a rose nursery, Bert and Margriet bought a 6-acre property where they established the Silverdale Nursery. Now, being migrants, and I know Don will attest to this, it wasn't very easy with no experience in the flower industry to get any financial backing, but they kept to their dream of growing gerberas. The Reichs now run and own a 17-hectare property in Hillsville on the eastern outskirts of Melbourne, and their fully imported state-of-the-art Dutch glasshouse has become a local landmark.
When you're confronted by 43,000 gerbera plants housed in a $1.5 million greenhouse, it's hard to imagine that the couple behind all of this, Bert and Marguerite Reich, knew nothing about flower growing when they started out 16 years ago.
We work 7 days a week and from early in the morning till late at night, and we even had times when we had to pick at night because we couldn't get the flowers finished during the day.
Why did you choose gerberas?
It's a challenge. There weren't many gerberas around at the time we started, and we wanted something that nobody else was growing.
The Reichs now have 2 gerbera farms. This one at Healesville began production at the start of the year. Bert developed a system where the plants could be grown in individual pots using hydroponics. The pot frame system is now used by most gerbera growers. It's all a far cry from those early days when they started growing cut flowers and taking them to market. Back then, gerberas had a reputation for lasting only a couple of days.
And we actually ended up giving the wholesaler a guarantee. They said if that flower collapses within 7 days, we'll return it free of charge. And I never had a bounce back for that particular reason.
The Reichs are now planning to open their Healesville property to the public as a tourist farm. As well as gerberas, there'll be picnic and barbecue facilities, a children's playground, and a herd of alpacas.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing the Reich family, Bert Reich. What we want to know, Bert, is if you've got a new car. He's doing well. Now, our next finalist in this category started out as a paint manufacturer in 1984 in a small factory in Smithfield, New South Wales. Saba Obaidi quickly discovered that the paint market was controlled by giant companies such as Dulux and Berger. Well, he kept looking for a niche market, so Saba joined a company involved in the distribution and fabrication of synthetic marble. 2 years later, he ran up against the very same problem in the form of big business, in the form of ICI, who took over the company. So it was time for Saba to once again change his business activity. And as you're about to see, he's done very well for himself.
Saba Obaidi came to Australia in 1983. A native of Iraq, he'd been working in the United Arab Emirates.
With the situation in Iraq in 1983, the war between Iraq and Iran, as you know, I need to find somewhere more comfortable to live.
He found that more comfortable place here in Australia. Initially, he worked as a paint manufacturer and then joined forces with his brother in the manufacture of a synthetic marble called Marblo. When the company was bought out, he set up StoneTech.
When you started out, what did you know about granite and marble?
Basically the name only. Well, the first 2-3 years was very hard, of course, as you understand. Trying things, trying tradespeople, civil industry, but things went very well.
StoneTech is now one of the biggest marble companies in Australia, supplying both the domestic and the corporate markets. Most of the marble and granite is imported in sheets, and after being skillfully crafted, it ends up looking like this. The Star City Hotel in Sydney is just one of many major projects that features StoneTech products. This is a bathroom in one of the hotel's penthouse suites.
What are your feelings when you look at, say, something like Star City?
Feel proud, as you said.
Please welcome to centre stage Managing Director of StoneTech, Saba Obaidi. Saba Obaidi, ladies and gentlemen. And that brings to an end our first category, so we are going to enjoy dinner. And do feel free, once you've had your dinner, to mingle a little. I know you want to pick up some tips, which industry to get into next. Saba's the man for that if you're coming up against big business. So do enjoy, and we'll be back in around 20 minutes.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, but now I see. Amazing grace. Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.
Life isn't always as rosy as it seems. There's always problems, there's always things in your life that's getting on top of you. Isn't that right? Do you find
here you go.
Oh, indeed. But let me tell you something now, people. Ain't no thing that's too difficult to manage. Ain't no obstacle that's too hard. And let me tell you one more thing, people. Ain't no mountain high. Yes, come on.
Now if you need me, call me. No matter where you are, no matter how far.
Don't worry, baby, just call out my name. I'll be there in a hurry.
Don't have to worry.
Baby, there ain't no mountain high enough. Ain't no valley low enough. Ain't no river wide enough to keep me from getting to you, babe.
Remember the day I set you free? I told you you could always count on me, darling.
From the day on, I made a vow. I'll be there when you want me. So where's some high?
Baby, there ain't no mountain high enough. Ain't no valley low enough. Ain't no river wide enough to keep me from getting to you, babe.
Well, no wind, no wind, no rain. No winter's cold can stop me, baby. Oh, baby, 'cause you were my love. Oh, baby,
Our love is alive
Down in my heart, although we are miles apart.
if you ever need.
I know then I'll be there on the double, just as far as you know.
Baby, there ain't no mountain high enough. Ain't no valley low enough. Ain't no river wide enough to keep me from getting to you, babe. Ain't no mountain high enough. Ain't no valley low enough. Ain't no river wide enough to keep me from you. Ain't no mountain high enough. Ain't no valley low enough. Ain't no river wide enough to keep me from you.
Come on, everybody, clap your hands. Come on, party time.
Nothing can keep me from you. Ain't no mountain high enough. Nothing can keep me from you. Nothing can keep me from you. Ain't no mountain high enough. Nothing can keep me from you. Nothing can keep me from you. Ain't no mountain high enough.
Joyful, joyful Lord, we adore thee. God of glory, Lord of love. Hearts are full like flowers before thee. Heavy as the Son of God. Melt the clouds and bring sin and sadness. Drive the dark of doubt away. Giver of immortal gladness. Fill us with the light. Fill us with your light. Oh, fill us with the light all day.
Joyful
Once again, thank you to Adoration on the Gospel Train, ladies and gentlemen, and those wonderful kids who I can tell you have been behaving beautifully. They've been doing little dances from their country to keep themselves entertained. So we've had a little Irish jig and a Scottish fling, so it's marvellous to see. Now, as I mentioned a little earlier, we're going to talk to our senior judge, Sir Nicholas Shahady, and that's not by virtue of his age, it's because he's been there since the beginning, and you have been 11 years ago, Sir Nicholas.
And it's been exciting 11 years, and all the judges take this job really serious, and we feel it's important. We dig deep. You may not be the biggest organisation, you could be the smallest, but we look for creativity, the contribution they make to this great country of ours, and I think the National Bank have got to be complimented on starting such a scheme.
What strikes you when you look at these businesses and you assess them? What do you really notice about how they are run?
Well, the hardships they experience to start. They come to a foreign country, they don't speak the language, and then they make a contribution, and you know, you can go back over the last 50 or 60 years that the ethnic or the migrants have come to this country have made Australia what it is. You know, Australia's like a fruit salad. We're just a mixture. I don't think there is a true Australian. We're all Australians together, irrespective of where you come from. But it's exciting for me, and especially tonight, because I've been trying to get into that Rosehill Mr. Cook's restaurant for years.
So you're in now, do you think?
Well, I might be able to get a number where I can ring and get a booking.
Are you any good in the kitchen yourself?
Oh, I wash up.
I heard a fascinating discussion on the radio this morning about small business and how migrants are the backbone of the Australian small business community. Importantly, how they are very family-oriented. Has that been a feature that you've noticed?
Oh, it is, you know, and I come from a background like this. Well, I was born in this country and I came from a migrant family, and when I played sport, I could never understand why they'd always put Nick Shahady of Lebanese descent, you know, and I think it's most exciting that they've got a foot in the old world and a foot in the new world, and I think it makes Australia a better place.
Yes, the best of so many worlds. So, Nicholas, thank you so much, and thank you too for your dedication and the real time and care that you've taken as a judge over the 11 years.
A pleasure. Donna, can I make it 12 years? Okay.
You got the job. So, Nicholas Shahady. We're now going to move to the finalists in the category $5 million and above. And while still at school, Dr. Jürgen Klein began teaching himself chemistry from an old book given to him by his father. By the ripe old age of 14, he'd established his own laboratory, experimenting with plant and mineral extractions based on the principles of ancient alchemy. At the same time, a young girl by the name of Eureka, along with her father's 10 other siblings, were all involved in herbal growing processes. As fate would have it, years later, the two married, and they've been together, dedicated to work to produce the country's purest skin care products, in fact, not only in Australia, but across the world. Their quest led them to South Australia.
Jürgen and Ulrike Klein are the founders of Jurlique International, a company dedicated to providing skincare products, aromatherapy oils and herbal medicines using 100% pure ingredients. The Kleins came to South Australia from Germany in 1983 looking for an unpolluted environment. They found it in the Adelaide Hills. The Kleins have always been a little ahead of their time, as they discovered when they first began marketing aromatherapy products commercially in Germany in the 70s.
Everybody was laughing about us. They thought we were greenies or terrorists in terms of modern marketing and availability of those products. Today it's mainstream.
Jurlique has grown from a two-person company to one that now employs 200 people within Australia and 30 in the United States and exports to 17 countries. The next major project is a health and healing centre here in the Adelaide Hills.
Products are only the material part of it. There is so much spiritually behind it. And that's where I see very much our future.
The Zherlik vision is to inspire people to live a long and healthy life.
I believe everybody who has not an inherited disease can turn easily 90 and be still joyful, healthy, and have fun in life.
So we don't sell a product, we sell a lifestyle.
Would you welcome to the stage, representing the Kleins, Dr. Jürgen Klein. And I have a few of their products in my cosmetic range. As most women would know, it's very large, so I'm counting on a long life, Jürgen. It's a good batch, he says. Jerry Karidis arrived in Australia from the Greek coastal island of Lefkas in 1956. Within a week, he was working on the assembly line at the then Mitsubishi plant in Adelaide. In 1962, he entered the residential property development business. As his business grew, so did the style of properties. In 1975, Jerry formed Karidis Corporation Limited, which has developed more than 3,500 residential dwellings right through to large-scale shopping complexes and commercial developments.
It would be stretching it to say Adelaide is the town that Jerry Karidis built, but he certainly left his mark. In the central business district alone in the past 10 years, he's put up between 40 and 50 commercial buildings and apartment blocks. This was Jerry Karidis at 18 years of age, recently arrived in Adelaide from Greece and feeling just a little homesick.
It was very tough, especially in Australia, not speak English. And not a job at the present time as they're coming.
But he soon found work, got married to Stella, opened a deli and started a family. At the time, he was working on the wharves during the day and the deli at night. This was Jerry's first house, built entirely from second-hand materials.
We sold it for £4,500. That was the start, and we never looked backwards.
Jerry's company, Karidis Corporation Limited, is currently working on projects worth more than $40 million.
Well, all I've ever said and all I keep on saying is it's not bad for a new Australian.
With the support of his wife Stella and his family, Jerry Karidis can now lay claim to being the biggest residential developer in the city of Adelaide.
Please put your hands together for Jerry Karidis. No longer homesick, we trust. RTS Imaging is a wholesale distributor of recycled laser and inkjet printer cartridges, as well as impact printer and typewriter ribbons. RTS Imaging, which also has a factory in New Zealand, is unique in that it doesn't retail products like its competitors, but rather supplies the recycled product to original equipment manufacturers. And Managing Director Wilf Muller is only too aware that to prosper in the computer-related industry, considerable investment in both the product and employee skills is imperative.
There are many reasons for the success of RTS Imaging. One stems back to the time when young Wilfred Muller, as a recent arrival from Malta, had to endure the taunts and teasing from his Australian schoolmates.
Initially, though, I felt a bit sensitive about what people called me, but I believe that really spurred me on to want to achieve, and I think, in hindsight, was probably they did me a great favour.
Wilf Muller set up RTS Imaging in 1987 to manufacture typewriter ribbons and then computer ribbons. But when Asian products began to flood the market, Wilf found he could no longer compete. That's when he turned his attention to recycling laser printer cartridges.
My business has grown fivefold in the last 7 years, and that's basically been attributed to the recycling of the cartridges.
Currently, the company is recycling 250,000 cartridges each year, which greatly benefits the environment.
And that equates to 130 20-foot containers of landfill that we save.
Wilf describes his workers, most of whom were born overseas, as hardworking and harmonious. He also invests a great deal of time and effort in their training.
And we never have to look for other workers because the people inside the business look for the right people to be in the business and join our club as a group.
Recently, the company began to recycle inkjet cartridges.
I suppose our business is the largest business in Australia and New Zealand, and we would probably have about 2.5% to 3% of the market. So you can see
the potential's huge.
Wonderful potential, yes.
Our third finalist in the category, $5 million and over, Wolf Muller of RTS Imaging. Now, before we move to the remainder of our finalists in this year's awards, I'd like to introduce the 1998 Young Australian of the Year, Tan Lee. Now, Tan is a law student and community worker and truly represents the very essence of youthful, multicultural, business-minded Australians. Please make welcome Tan Lee. Join us in the hot seat because that's the hot one Don's been there for today. Now, Tan, you were 4, you were a refugee from Vietnam. That must feel like a lifetime ago to you.
It does, actually. It does feel like it's been a long time. Not so much for me, I don't think, but more so for my mother. She came out when she was 20 and it's been 16 years, but she's moved on so much. I suppose for me it does feel like a long time, coming out as a 4-year-old refugee and then Australia giving me so many opportunities, just like it's given so many people here in this room tonight.
You have grasped those opportunities. You do wonderful community work. Tell us a little bit about what your involvement is.
My involvement with community service is really with Melbourne's western suburbs. I deal with a lot of people who are unemployed from a non-English speaking background, and also with training programs for them so that they can fit into the job market here in Australia. The other thing that I do, which is my new pet project, is a scholarship program for young students in the western suburbs, and that is something that I really like to get started.
What motivated you to do that? Is it something that your family instilled in you, the fact that you've been lucky and you should help others in return?
Yes, well, my mother always said that we were very lucky. In fact, when we first arrived in Australia, I can remember stepping down the gangway from the aeroplane and Mum said, "The ground you're about to step onto is very special and you should bend down and touch it." And she said to us later on that we did bend down and touch the ground and looked up and replied, it did not feel very special. And then she told us to make it special in our minds. And I think the message has been reiterated all the time that I've been in Australia, to really return what we've been given, all the wonderful opportunities that we've had for other new Australians.
Now, you've been balancing studying your law, doing your legal studies, as well as being the Young Australian of the Year. How have you managed to do that?
That's been quite a challenge this year, but I think it's wonderful. I've now finished my law degree and waiting to go on to do articles at Freehills next year.
Well, congratulations. So that's a great achievement. Now, what have you learned from being Young Australian of the Year?
A lot of things, in fact. I've learned a lot about meeting. I've actually had the opportunity to meet many young people and in many areas in Australia, and I think it's truly reiterated to me and really defined the fact that Australia is such a wonderful place. It really truly gives people opportunities to pursue their dreams if they're willing to put in hard work. And I think tonight we really see evidence of that. And what is being recognised tonight is the excellence, the striving for excellence and the commitment to achieving great things. And I think that's something that really gives me a lot of hope for the future.
Beautifully put, wouldn't you all agree? Please thank the Young Australian of the Year, Tan Lee. Now, Now, by his own admission, our next finalist encountered a number of hurdles in trying to establish a business in Australia on his arrival in 1971. Complicated government regulations, business standards, a new culture, and obtaining finance were just a few hindrances George Gossain was forced to overcome. But with self-education, training, and a belief in himself, no obstacle proved too great for George, who now runs one of the largest demolition and excavation companies in Sydney, Kari and Gossain.
George Gossain spends a lot of time on his mobile, whether he's at his quarry in Tip on the western outskirts of Sydney, or supervising the excavation of a major shopping centre at Chatswood. The phone is never too far away. George likes to keep an eye and an ear on everything that's going on.
I arrived 14th of June 71. It was very, very tough. I think beginning of the recession.
It took George 3 months to find his first job as a foundry worker, and he quickly decided he wanted to be his own boss. After saving $6,000 and borrowing a further $25,000, he was ready to enter the demolition and excavation business.
One truck and one 6-tonner machine.
And you built this?
I built it from that days. Yes, hard work, but I did it.
George now runs a diverse business empire. His distinctive green machine trucks are a common sight around Sydney. George is also involved in exporting food produce and is negotiating with Ghana to set up a waste-to-energy plant in that country.
You have to build step by step and study the second step before you jump, because sometimes if you don't study it properly, you'll break your legs. So you have to be very careful, know what you're doing, and honesty is very, very important.
Please welcome the Managing Director of Kari and Gossain, George Gossain. And our reporter Quentin Fogarty, who's put together these wonderful little stories of our finalists tonight, tells me that George is keeping one of our telecommunications carriers afloat on his mobile phone. Our next finalist arrived in Australia from Denmark at the age of 20. Stig Jensen worked for a major iron ore miner where he was promoted to catering manager, providing a knowledge and understanding of food preparation for large numbers of people. Today, Stig and Kate Jensen run Jensen's Choice Foods, a modern, diverse food processor, exporter and manufacturer. The company has a skilled, talented, multicultural workforce with a reputation built on first-class customer service.
Jensen's Choice Foods is located at Huntingdale, a southeastern suburb of Melbourne. The managing director, Stig Jensen, came to Australia from Denmark in 1972. From humble beginnings, he's developed a flourishing food processing business, marketing his own range of products, as well as producing finished goods under some of Australia's best-known brands.
I started off with a hypothesis. And the hypothesis was, can you find a chore that's universally disliked, and can you find a way of doing it for people in an economical way? Well, then you ought to be on to a bit of a winner. So I don't know if you've ever met anyone that likes actually peeling and crushing garlic, because that was what our business originally was based on.
In those early days, Stig and his wife operated from home, selling their crushed garlic door to door.
I started the business with $500 on the old NAB bank card. That was where it all began.
How did you get from
that $500 start to where you are now?
I needed a bigger limit on the bank cards.
Stig Jensen credits his success to a number of factors, including his hard-working and skillful workforce, building relationships with his customers, and ensuring they remain his #1 priority.
Because if you don't meet the needs of the customer, oh, forget it. You have got no business. That's the reality of it.
From Jensen's Choice Foods, please welcome Stig Jensen. Stig still has his bank card, according to, I think, what Don just asked. But the limit is better, we've heard. Well, still on the subject of food, our last finalist in the category of $5 million and above arrived in Australia with just $20 in his pocket, and he had a dream. It might have been a rather unusual dream, but he wanted to be the largest supplier of pita bread in Melbourne. Well, today John Abu Haila's company is called Middle East Bakeries, and it's the sole supplier of pita bread to Safeway supermarkets. His product is not only supplied to Melbourne, it's exported to China, Indonesia, New Zealand, Hong Kong and Japan. Here's a fascinating statistic. When Middle East Bakeries started out, it used approximately 200 kilograms of flour a day. Now it uses 60 tonnes a week at the rate of 700 kilograms an hour.
Like so many migrants who do well in this country, John Abu Haila had to battle against the odds. He arrived from Lebanon with just a few dollars in his pocket, but within 3 years he had started his own small bakery, supplying Melbourne's Middle Eastern community.
We worked pretty hard, long hours. We used to sleep only on Saturday.
As his business grew, John moved to new premises, and he also saw the opportunity to expand his customer base.
I have to take this opportunity and do something about it. Australian people find they don't know what the pita bread is. You have to let them know what the pita bread is.
The business continued to grow and again moved to bigger premises. Because there was no machinery on the market to meet his needs, John set about designing and building a production line himself.
I was doing it in the factory with the small tools.
You did it all yourself?
I did it myself.
Middle East Bakeries started out with just one product. Now there are about 20 individual products, all made from pita bread. John Abu Haila attributes his success to the quality of the product, the fact that this is a family business, and his own ambition and drive.
I started back in 1969. The way I used to work, and look at me now, you know, I said to myself, I did achieve something.
Representing John Abu Haila, his son George. Now, we're not sure if he's catching up on his sleep because we knew he was going without that, but we know he's not unwell because he ate his own pita bread, so we're very grateful for that. Now, we're going to keep you in suspense just a little bit longer, so do enjoy your dessert and coffee, and Don and I will be back to announce the winners of the National Business Ethnic Awards. Just said. I know trying to select one winner from each category would have been an extremely difficult task. You're all winners, yet we do have to choose one, and our esteemed judges had to choose one in every category. So to refresh your memories, let's take a look at the finalists in the category of $5 million and under.
He started out with no cooking experience whatsoever. Now he's regarded as the best chef in the country, Tetsuya Wakuda. When it comes to tomato growing, there are few in Australia who can match the endeavours of Joe Vraka, the young Dutch couple who guarantee their gerbers will stand long and tall, Bert and Marguerite Reich. From Baghdad to Sydney, from paintmaking to marble, the success story of Saba Obeidi.
Now, before Don makes the announcement, I might just let you know of what our winners are going to receive. Thanks to the magnificent sponsorship of Singapore Airlines, they'll receive 2 international business class tickets. The National has thrown in a lazy $10,000 for spending money, and as a permanent memento, this beautiful crystal trophy. Don, you have the envelope. Come and tell us who is the winner.
Sure have, Bev. Bert Reich.
Thank you very much for this. Tomorrow, 16 years ago, we stepped out of the plane and landed in this country. There was no thing in my mind that we ever were going to be up here and receiving this fantastic award. I have to thank the National Bank for this great award. In particular, Wayne Cochrane from the National Bank in Lilydale, who actually appointed us for this award. I have to thank my lovely wife, standing by me. And I also have to thank my staff for doing a fantastic job in our business and helping us run the business the way we run it at the moment. Without them, I can't run the business. Of course, I have to thank Singapore Airlines for giving us the great trip as well. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yes, congratulations indeed. Now to the category of $5 million and above. Again, let's take a look at our finalists in brief.
Skincare products based on the principles of ancient alchemy, the lifetime passion of Jürgen and Ulrika Klein. He's now the largest residential developer in Adelaide, but he built his first home from second-hand materials. Jerry Caritas. Recycling laser printer cartridges has proved a boon to the environment and a flourishing business for Wilf Muller. He's been helping to reshape Sydney's skyline for 25 years. Demolition and excavation is his business. George Gassain. Crushing garlic and selling it door to door. Proof that a successful business can start with a simple idea. Stig Jensen. He recognised a need, he built his own production line, and he put pita bread on our tables. John Abuhela.
And with the winner, Don.
George Gassain.
Thank you to the National Bank. I think Don Argus should call it the Global Bank. Thank you to the judges and the sponsor, Singapore Airlines and ANSET. Thank you to Joseph Asef, the finder of the award. Thank you to Australia for giving us the opportunity to succeed in business and win the award. Have a good night.
George has no idea what he suggests when he thinks about renaming the National. I can tell you it would be an agonising process. Well, that does bring us to the end of tonight's awards. A special thank you to our judges and sponsors, Singapore Airlines and ANSET Australia. To all of you here tonight, you've been a very wonderful audience, and I'm sure you've been inspired by the stories that you've heard. And obviously we'd love you to stay on and mingle as you have been doing and networking. And of course to the National, whose ongoing support continues to recognise the talents and contribution that migrants have made to Australian business. And as we've seen tonight, that is quite an amazing contribution. To close this evening's celebration, here again, Adoration on the Gospel Train with this very stirring rendition of our national anthem.
Australians, all let us rejoice, for we are young and free. With golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty rich and rare. In history's pages let every stage advance, Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing. Advance, Australia.